You know, some stories, they just feel ancient, right? Like they're whispered on the desert winds. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the folklore of the jinn in Saudi Arabia. And we're going to kick things off with a truly terrifying encounter on a desolate highway.
Okay, so picture this. It's the Riyadh Qasim Highway. The clock ticks over to 2:13 a.m. It is pitch black. The road is just this ribbon of asphalt cutting through an absolutely endless desert. And behind the wheel of a truck is a driver named Farhan, just trying to get his route done. For him, this was totally routine, right up until the moment it wasn't.
So out there in the darkness, Farhan spots something strange. There's a figure, a person, kneeling on the side of the road. They're wearing a traditional fob, almost like they're in the middle of prayer. But there are no other cars around, no sign of a breakdown, nothing. So Farhan, being a good guy, thinks someone might be in trouble, and he decides to slow down, see if he can help.
But as he gets closer, the truck's headlights start to pick up details that are just not right. I mean, seriously wrong. The shadow of this figure, it seems to twist and shift in ways that shadows just don't. And then, this biting cold suddenly seeps into his cab, even with the windows up. And along with the cold comes this faint, really disturbing smell, kind of like something's burning.
So Farhan calls out, "Brother, is everything all right?" And the figure, it slowly raises its head. And right there, in that moment, Farhan's entire world just freezes. Because where this person's eyes should be, there's nothing. Just two black, hollow pits with a thin little wisp of smoke curling out of them.
Before he can even slam on the gas, this creature lunges at his truck. Its hand slaps hard against the window, and its lips, they don't move at all. But a voice, or maybe it's more like several voices all speaking at once, booms with this chilling warning. And then, poof, it's just gone, vanished into thin air.
So, when a totally shaken Farhan later tells this story to a local cleric, the true horrifying meaning of those words becomes clear. That phrase, it translates to something like, "I have been waiting for you for 3 nights. Do not return." This jinn wasn't just there. It was waiting for him specifically. And here's the kicker. Farhan was actually supposed to make that same trip 3 days earlier, but he'd swapped shifts. The driver who took his place, he was found dead at that exact same spot.
Wow. Okay, so an encounter like that, it just begs the question, right? What exactly is a jinn? To really get a handle on that, we need to shift gears a little, from this terrifying personal story to the actual theological background of what these beings are believed to be.
All right, so according to Islamic scripture, like the Quran, jinn aren't what you might think of as ghosts or demons in the Western sense. They're something else entirely. They're described as pre-human entities, created by God from a smokeless fire. The idea is that they live right here, alongside us, but in a kind of parallel dimension that's normally totally invisible to our eyes.
And this really gets to the core difference between us and them. See, humans were created from clay, from the earth. Jinn, on the other hand, were created from a much more ethereal element, fire. So they're a completely separate, ancient, and, well, unseen creation.
So that brings up a really interesting question. If jinn are supposed to exist in this parallel dimension all over the world, why do we hear so many of these intense encounters, like the one Farhan had, coming specifically from Saudi Arabia? Is it just a bunch of superstition, or is there something more going on?
Okay, let's dig into that, because there are a few really compelling arguments that try to explain why these encounters are so common there. And it all seems to boil down to a mix of geography, culture, and the very nature of the jinn themselves.
So yeah, it basically comes down to 3 main things. First, you've got the landscape, just the sheer geography of the place. Second, there's the cultural context, a belief system that fully acknowledges they exist. And third, it's about the fundamental nature of the jinn, who, according to all the stories, are super protective of their privacy.
I mean, just think about this number for a second. 95%. That's how much of Saudi Arabia is desert. That is a huge amount of remote, desolate, undisturbed space. So, if you were a being that really wanted to avoid people, well, you couldn't ask for a more perfect place to live, right?
And to make this even more real, let's zoom in on one specific, kind of infamous spot. It's a valley near the city of Medina, and it's known locally as Wadi al-Jinn. And yeah, that literally translates to the Valley of the Jinn.
This place, it has a reputation, a really chilling one.
The locals tell all kinds of stories about cars seeming to move on their own and other bizarre phenomena. And these things especially happen to people who are brave enough, or maybe foolish enough, to travel through there alone after dark. So take the story of these two friends, Faris and Hamza. They're driving through late one night, and suddenly the radio just cuts out, dead silence. And then the adhan, the Islamic call to prayer, starts echoing from the empty hills around them. But here's the weird part. The voice kept changing. First, it was a man's voice. Then it sounded like a group of children. Then a single woman. Faris, he knew the local folklore. This was a classic jinn tactic, a lure to try and trick people into getting out of their cars and wandering into the darkness.
Okay, let's jump back in time even further. We're going to the 1960s now for the story of a shepherd named Sheikh Mubarak. He took his flock into a part of that same valley, a part known for this really strange landmark, a well that the locals said breathed.
So he's getting close to the well to grab a goat that had wandered off, and suddenly, a soft whisper echoes up from the darkness. It says, "Come closer. Don't be afraid." I mean, talk about a chilling invitation from the deep, right?
Mubarak understandably hesitates. And then the voice speaks again, but this time it's deeper, more insistent. "Come down. We will show you what you have never seen." There's a real sense of temptation there, but it's laced with something undeniably sinister. So he peers into the darkness with his lantern, but he can't see a person, just this strange shadow swirling around inside. As he pulls back, a withered, almost burnt-looking hand shoots out from the depths and grips the edge of the well. And then a final voice just booms out, "We were here before you, and we will be here after you. Never return." As you can imagine, Mubarak ran. He fled and left everything behind. So we've got these really terrifying first-hand accounts, and this incredibly deep-rooted folklore. But here's something that's super important to understand. These beings are nothing like the versions you might know from, say, cartoons or movies.
Yeah, I mean, this really drives the point home. Forget the big, blue, wisecracking genie that pops out of a lamp. That's pop culture. The jinn of actual Arabian folklore, they are not here to grant you 3 wishes. They are ancient, they are powerful, and they are fiercely territorial. They demand respect, and more than anything, they just want to be left alone.
And all of this brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? Back on that dark highway with Farhan. And it leaves us with a pretty haunting question to think about. A question that really blurs the line between being cautious and being compassionate. After everything you've just heard, if you were driving down a desolate desert road at 2 in the morning and you saw a lone figure on the roadside, would you stop?